Standing, feet hip width apart. I'm just choosing to do bare feet today actually, so some of you might want to give that a go. It just gives another element to it. You can really feel the floor through your feet. So lift and separate your toes. And without your socks on, you can really see your toes as well. So pushing down through your big toes, drawing up your arch, and feel how that affects the rest of the legs. So you should be able to feel a little drawing up through the inside of the lower leg there, maybe. If you don't feel it directly, just think about it happening. Soften your knees slightly, and that should bring a little bit of tension into your thighs. So with the knees locked back, the thighs can wobble. With the knees just a little bit bent, you should be able to feel a slight tensioning through there. Make sure your knees are pointing forwards and your toes are pointing forwards. However, some people are built a little bit more to have their toes pointing out. So if your toes point out slightly naturally when you stand, and if you correct it by bringing your toes in, but then your knees point in like this, you may need to concentrate a little bit more on where the knees are. So if your toes just naturally point out a little bit, which means your knees are straight, this is where I want you. So don't force yourself in and end up like this, is what I'm saying. Hopefully that makes sense. Hands on your hips. So you've got those big toes slightly pushing down into the floor. Your arches are lifting up. Your knees are a little bit bent. Tuck your bottom under. Sink those ribs down. Chest open. Drop the shoulders. Hands, like I say, on the hips, and let's do our little rocks from side to side. These sometimes need to be a little bit more subtle than you would imagine. And I want you just taking the weight over the leg rather than swaying, so the body isn't moving from side to side. You are taking that whole block from side to side. Feel like you're squeezing one glute, one bum cheek, and then the other. And then I want you coming forwards and backwards, onto the toes, onto the heels. Good. And feel the tummy squeeze a little bit as you take the weight back onto the heels there. Good. Lifting one heel and swap and swap. I usually bring the feet a little closer to do the same, still thinking about the weight going forwards through that big toe. What's natural is to want to go out to the side a little bit more there. So resist that and push forwards over that big toe. And then I want you to think about the back of the movement. So as one foot's coming forwards, the other one, the heel is pushing down. So you're squeezing down through the back of the leg. Good. Brilliant. Okay, lower the arms down by your sides, bring the shoulders forwards, up, round and down, and then try to smooth it off so it's not jerky, forwards, up, round, down. We're doing a round movement, but you're trying to hit each of those points all the way forwards, all the way up, back, round and down. It's normal for everything to feel a bit clunky on these. No matter how healthy and fit you are, it will always make it be a little bit clunky, which is fine. Good. Couple more. Good. With the right arm, I want you to lift up all the way to the top, stretch backwards a little bit, and then come back down. And then with the left, all the way to the front, to the top, stretch backwards, bounce a little at the top, forwards, up, stretch back, and down, and the other arm forwards, up, stretch back, and down. Good. I want the chin to come forwards, to the centre, all the way up, and to the centre again. And like I've mentioned before with these neck movements, as you take the head back, this can feel a bit vulnerable. And then you use those neck muscles to pull yourself back up again. If you do this regularly, you'll strengthen that neck and it will be better on the sit-ups and all the exercises where you have to keep your head up off the floor. Lovely. And then we can take the head over to the side. Good. And back up, and then the other side. Good. Try and keep a chin tucked position on these. Good. It makes a big difference to do it with that chin tucked back rather than forwards. And then rotating with the chin tucked. If you want to keep your hand on your shin there, that's just fine. Quite freeing to get the neck moving in this way. Okay, one more each side. Good stuff. Okay, so let's start with some squats where we're bringing the arms up to the front like that. These are quite difficult. So a squat just going to horizontal there, not too difficult. If you try and push that bit more, can you see how my body is in line from my fingers to my bum? The want of a better explanation. Okay, so we're going to do another 10 of these. Imagine you've joined in with me for a few. Off we go. 1. Sitting back into your heels. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Squeeze your bum on the way up. 7. 8. 9. 10. Lovely. We're going to step 1 foot forwards and the other one back, being high up on that back toe. And we're going to do 10 of the split squats on the right leg and then 10 on the left. That back knee is heading straight down to the floor. 1. Squeeze your glutes on the way up. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Try and keep the chest up. 7, 8, 10. Seems so many. 9. Lovely. Step that leg forward and then one back. Up high on the toe. Squeeze your glutes. Tuck your bottom under. Soften the back knee if you want to. That helps you tuck your bottom under. And off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more. Brilliant. Facing forwards. That always gives me that quad burn, no matter how thin I get. So assuming that starting position again, feet are a bit apart, knees are a little bit soft, bottom's tucked under, and we're going to take the weight over to that left leg. Take the right one straight out to the side. So you are balancing 100% on that left leg. The right one's just going out to the side and it skims the floor. 5, 6, working hard through the standing legs. 7, 8, don't lift this hip. 9, 10, brilliant. Take the weight onto that one. Squeeze, tighten, get some body tension through that side, and then lift the other. 1, 2, don't lift this hip now. 10. Keep those legs a little shade. It's a good amount to do in standing. So standing on the end of your mat now. Take a nice breath in. Breathe out, sink down. The chin comes down first, the ribs tuck under. You start curling, curling down all the way to the bottom. Let your head hang heavy, let your arms hang heavy. Take a breath in, breathe out, and allow yourself to sink that little bit further down. Breathe in again, and out and sinking down. Good. Just a small knee bend and straighten, both of them. Small knee bend and straighten. Good. Keep going. 3, 4. Let's try to get to 10. 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more. Sit down on the heels, and what I want you to do is try and push your heels down to the floor. It's an interesting stretch that feels quite deep inside that calf. So just sitting there, hopefully people's knees feel okay in this position. If they don't, then just move forwards onto your hands and knees. But if your knees can take it, you just sit there and let the weight of you come downwards and push the heel down towards the floor. I'm not interested in it actually going to the floor. It's just a matter of pushing down as if you're doing a calf stretch. And that's where you should feel it, deep inside that. Good. Okay, onto your hands and knees. Continuing with these wrist stretches, stretch forwards and back. Good, just taking the weight forwards to stretch wrists, but also keeping that body tension still, drawing in through the tummy, staying strong through the shoulders as you come forwards and backwards. Fingers pointing out to the sides, taking the weight from side to side. So this is as much a stretch for the wrists as it is a stabilizing exercise for the shoulders as well. Good. Turn one wrist under and stretch there. Try to really lock out the elbow. By locking out the elbow, you get a nice stretch down through the forearm. Down, and then the other leg, the other hand. Turns under. Straight and lock out that elbow. Great. Okay, so with the right leg, I'd like you to stretch back, lift, down, in. All the time trying to keep your middle as strong as you can. Stretch back, lift, down, in. Continue on that leg. 2, 3, 4, 5. Try not to rotate the hips. 6, I was a little bit there. Keep the shoulders strong. Last one of these. Good, and then the other leg. Stretch back, lift, down, in. Brilliant. Three more. Great. Okay. Curl back all the way up and down. Good. Pushing up and away, scooping in your tummy, and then use the back muscles to arch you the other way. Good. Nice to breathe in as you go this way and out. One more. Lovely. Okay, turning into sitting. Good. Heels firmly planted. Arms out in front. Curl back and out. Good. It's always nice to get the lower back moving on these. Mobilizing and stretching through the lower back while you're really activating through your glutes as well, abs. Great, keep the shoulders dropped down and try and keep the arms horizontal as well. Nice, couple more. And straighten out the legs. That's all I'm going to do for those ones today. We're going to spend a little bit more time on our methods. Good. So, coming down. I would like you to tuck through your chin, open out and broaden the front of the chest, the backs of the shoulders coming down to the mat. Pull the shoulders down away from your ears. Think about tucking your shoulder blades into little pockets on the back of you. Breathe in, breathe out and sink down with the ribs. Rock the pelvis backwards and forwards. Settle in the middle, tighten through the pelvic floor. Feet are hip width apart. Hands wherever you like, on the front of your hips here, or spread along the front with your thumbs reaching up. That's a nice position to be in to check everything. And then we're lifting each leg, one at a time. Relax your breathing. Try and get your breathing into the lower outer lungs here, into the rib cage at the bottom. It's more of an outwards movement rather than a movement here. Outwards movement there. Good. Push down gently into each foot. That activates your glutes. Pilates is about using as many parts of you as you can to stabilize gently. Good. Now right leg up. Draw the ribs down, scoop in the tummy, pick up the left, right down, left down. Keep thinking about drawing in and flattening through the front here.
Shut up. Shut up.
Lily, what's wrong?
No.
Okay, other leg first. Last day of homeschooling today. Making sure your breathing's nice and relaxed, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Good. Give your legs a little shake. It is normal to feel the tension through the thighs and perhaps through the front of your hips. So just make sure that you relax that off in between. Ready for the next level of the same exercise. So both legs up to tabletop, scooping in the tummy, tapping the toes down. To make it easier, tap the toe towards your bum. Now to make it harder, stretch away a little bit more for the end of the mat. Good. This is important. It's most important to breathe on these harder exercises and to get used to being able to draw in through the tummy but also expand through the ribs there. And then seamlessly, if you crunch, bring one leg up and the other one out. Come back in. If you find this one difficult, pause here for a bit. This is the more restful position. It's moving between the two that's harder. Good. Keep scooping in your tummy. Good. One more each side. Nice. And come back down. Great. So that's all the way through that first exercise called scissors, as you can imagine why. Feet hip width apart, hands on your ribs, taking one knee sideways and come back up, and then the other knee sideways and come back up. Good. Keeping the chin tucked, the chest open, the ribs down. Good. Breathing. Great. There's something to be said for crossing your hands across your chest for these exercises. It means you've got slightly less contact on the floor. I've never found a massive benefit of that, but it's something you want to try, then give it a try. And for those of you who are determined to work your abs as hard as you possibly can, you can crunch all the way through, hold a crunch all the way through if you wanted to. Good. Nice. Knees and toes together. roll the legs over, picking up the hip, rolling over and pull back to the center. Pick up the hip, roll to the other side. Good. And it's the pulling back that's important. So you've been over to that side and then you draw in your tummy and you squeeze and pull yourself back to the center. Picking up the hip, pulling back. Good. Cool. One more each side. Lovely. Bringing the legs up to tabletop, drawing in the tummy, feet hip width apart, feet and knees, and then we're taking one knee out and back in, out and back in. With Pilates, it's all about knowing where your body is in space and knowing the angles of each thing. So as you're taking the legs out to the side here, your knee and your foot need to move at the same speed. And then when you bring them back, they need to arrive back into that same alignment. It's all about being precise, really. One more each side of these. And then let's keep the legs there if we can. Drop the heels if you're struggling. It's sometimes a correction that I make, but with these online classes, I want to make sure everybody's got an option. You could bring the feet down and just be up on the toes there, perhaps, but I want to give you an option if staying up here is too much. So taking the legs over to the side. Like I say, you can drop the heels if you want to, or bring the knees a little bit closer to you. For those of you wanting to work harder, push the knees that little bit further away from you, but not further than vertical. Having the hands on the ribs helps to try and keep those ribs down, and we're rotating around our middle. Good. One more each side. Lovely. Bring the knees in. Good work. So feet back on the floor. We're going to be stretching one leg away. These are lovely to stretch through the backs of the legs. Stretch the leg away, pull the toes up and pull back in. Push away, drive away with the heel, push the toes up. And come back in, tucking the chin, broadening the chest. Push that leg out and pull back in. Push away. Squeeze your glutes. Figure out what you can squeeze through that leg. Squeeze through the thighs, squeeze through the glutes, push and extend out through that leg. Nice. Stop there. Tabletop with the right, out, in, down. Other leg. Tabletop, out, in, down. Really tighten, squeeze the thigh, and thighs level. This is where I tend to get up in my classes and get people, pull that leg down. Because quite often people are up here or they're out along the floor, but when you stretch that leg out, I want it level with the other thigh. And even when I say it, I still have to get up and manhandle people's legs into the right position. Good. One more each side. Lovely. Cool. Okay, now we're bringing both legs up. Continue with that last exercise if you struggle with both legs up. Stretch out and in. This is often where people lose their tummy position. So have your hands on your tummy just to remind you that you need to draw in, scoop in as you go. Stretching and straightening and tightening that thigh. Open out the chest and tuck the chin. Personally, that does it all for me. As soon as I tuck my chin and open my chest, I suddenly feel super strong through here. So that just shows posture is so important. One more each side. Lovely. And bring the knees in. Okay. There is one more level of this exercise, and I think we should do it. We've been doing it the last few times. So crunch, stretch out your right leg, and the arms go across the other one. I need to show you on this side. So this arm stretches right down, the other one across. And then it's a nice flowing movement. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Good. And I think the arms being in this slightly strange position just helps with the flow. Nice. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Okay. We'll do a couple of shoulder bridges and then we'll come back to a few more abs just to make sure that we do them well. It's good to have a little rest of that part of the body and then come back to it again. So heels close towards your bum, tucking under, pushing your knees away, squeezing in through your tummy, and then push your ribs down first and curl the rest of your back down. Flatten your back and peel up one vertebra at a time. Push into it, curl back down. Good. We're going to curl up and we're going to do some leg waggles. So straighten out that right leg and it's going to go up and down. It's going to point to the ceiling and the heel comes down to the floor. So you've got to be a little bit prepared for this. We're going to do 5 each leg. Tucking under, curling up, take the weight on the left, straighten out the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Foot down, curl down. It's really burning in the standing leg quite often. Tucking under, curling up, take the weight on your right, left out, off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Foot down and curl down. Lovely. So as promised, I want to do one more abs exercise. So hands behind your head, crunching, bringing your legs up to tabletop, and that crisscross exercise. So you're rotating and coming in, rotating the other way and coming. Draw in your tummy. Good. 6. Let's try to get to 20. 7, 8, 9, 10. Another 10. 1, 2. Keep scooping in. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring your knees in. Brilliant. Okay, a few rolls, I think. Lifting up your feet, keep them all up and curl and roll back. Don't let that input get squashed. 2, pulling up in between. 3, 4. Keep those feet from going down. 5, 6, 7. Gosh, a 10 always feels like quite a lot. 8. Up in between. 9, 10. Oh, they're not hard, those ones, but I think it takes a little bit of endurance to do 10 of those. Lovely. Okay, so let's come onto our sides for the dreaded glutes. Tuck that bottom hip back. It's always shimmy and tuck the bottom hip back. Tuck the ribs back. Scoop and tuck your bottom under. Feet in line with your bum. And then lift and lower that knee. Good. Try and just lift it up to where you feel that block. And there will be a block there. Unless you let that hip rock back, there will be a block there. Remember, you can be flat, you can have your hand here, you can be up on the elbow. Good. Now the feet up, in line with your bum, and go. Keep breathing. Some people find this a bit more relaxing, this exercise, than the abs, so this is maybe a time to get some good breaths in. Good. Bottom leg down, stretch out the top leg. I want you to tap in front and tap on the side. So that actually makes you use your waist a little bit. Tap in front and tap along the body. 3, 4. Toes don't have to be pointed. 3 more. 9, 10. Great. Other leg. Make sure you get yourself into that correct positioning again. Ribs back, hips back, bottom tucked under. Good. Push that top hip away just a little bit there and make sure your feet are in line. Lifting that top knee. Good. And then lifting up your feet. Keep working in here. Good. Bottom leg straight. Bottom leg bent, top leg straight. Point your toes if you like. Tap in front and then tap alongside. You're going to have to move just slightly so you have enough room. Tap in front and then alongside. Good. That one alongside, that is actually going to stretch in here a little bit. Good. And maybe in the waist a little bit. 2 more. Lovely. Good. Okay, so on to a few press-ups again. I've missed them out over the last couple of sessions, I think. So let's do 2 sets of 10 press-ups. Now, assuming whichever position you like. Box press-ups here, half press-ups, and I'm going to call them 3/4 press-ups, where you've got one leg straight and the other leg bent. And you can do 10 one side, and then when we do the second set, you can straighten out the other leg. So that's the one I'm going to stick with. This is the one I find the hardest and the most beneficial for 10. And that's the one you've got to choose. It's the hardest one for you and the most beneficial, so you're not struggling too much and having to miss them out. So here we go. Let's do 10. One knee down if you want to. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10. Good. Sit back on your heels to rest. Breathe in and out. Good. And if you're with me on that one leg bent, one leg straight business, then assume the position with the other leg or continue with what you chose. And off we go. 1, 2. 2 more. Lovely. Sit back onto the heels again. Good. Brilliant. Okay. Being a bit washed out today, and the great thing about committing to teaching is that you have to push yourself through. So it's quite nice. Okay, sitting that hip down to the floor there, the other arm out to the side. We're going to be coming down onto the elbow to get that nice stretch through the side, coming over and back up. Good. That hip doesn't have to be touching the floor, but it stays where it is as you push over. And one trick is to push into that arm and elbow that's on the floor. Push into it, and that pushes the hip down and it stretches the side of you. Good. 2 more. Last one. Brilliant. The side, swapping the legs around, hooking that foot in. Good, coming down onto the elbow. 1, 2.
Lily,
Great.
Come here.
Lovely. How are we doing? Good. Got time for a couple of plank type exercises. As you've seen me do before, I don't like necessarily a holding plank, but what I'm going to do is get you to straighten one leg at a time here. So assuming the position on your elbows with your knees bent, you'll feel like the bottom's up in the air, of course, because with your knees bent it kind of has to be. And we're going to do 20 of these, straightening one leg at a time. So you push away and push into the heel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Another 10.
Just look Lily past it.
6, 7,
That feels it's right.
9, 10, and come back down. I've got a vague memory of me saying just then, we're going to do a couple of those planks, but I've decided probably one's enough. We'll move on to a few more arm exercises maybe. Coming down onto your front, tuck through your chin with your arms down by your sides. And we're going to be lifting the shoulders, lifting the hands, hands down, shoulders down. Okay, lift the shoulders, broaden the chest, lift the hands, shoulders. One way to correct this exercise so you're not doing these is to keep your forehead down on the floor. Shoulders, hands, shoulders. Good. Keep your bottom tucked under and your tummy in and your feet on the floor. Good. For a little rest, come up onto the elbows there and just hold. And then we'll move on to another similar arm exercise. Good. Coming back down again, arms along your body, push your fingertips down towards your toes, lift your shoulders, lift your arms, keep your bottom tucked under and your palms facing in, circling out. You can have your forehead hovered off the floor. It doesn't have to be on the floor, but as long as you've not got it up here. Circle back round the other way. Lovely. Stop there. Have a little rest propped up on the elbows again. Stretch around a little bit. Good work. Okay, last arm exercise with your elbows out to the side and your fingertips pointing straight up ahead. Forehead on the floor or just hovered. We're going to be lifting and lowering. Okay, 10 of these. 1, 2, 3. Keep that bottom tucked under. Nice. Okay. Now pushing up and arching the back in this direction. Stretching there. Uncomfortable for a lot of you, I'm sure. Maybe this one was just enough for that. Good. Excellent. Turn the toes under. Push yourself up. And I want one leg on the outside. So the right leg on the outside of the right hand. Stretch up with the other. You can keep that knee down to the floor, by the way, but the full exercise is to stretch up. And with your right arm straight up to the ceiling and your right elbow towards the floor. 2, 3, 4. Lily out of the way. 5. Good. Swap sides. Other leg forwards.
What's going to be underneath?
Knee down if you want to. Good. And off we go. 1, 2, 3,
Go down.
4, Fine. Good, that's it for that one, Lily, so that is probably enough. Yeah. Okay, so coming down, we need to bring one leg up to stretch. Guinea pig's putting me off. Tuck your bottom under and lunge forwards into it. We're going to hold this one today. Hook your hands together and stretch up and hold forwards. Good. Brilliant. Come back and hold it. So some people like sitting back down on their heel behind them. Others just like being in this halfway position. Good. Swap sides. Other leg forwards. Remember to stretch up. Hook your hands. Stretch up and lunge forwards into it. Good. Sit back into the heel. Great. Lovely. Okay, coming down, having your legs wide in a V, like so. Stretching the arms up, rotate, come down towards that leg. Coming up, rotate over the other leg. Some of you may find it just enough to just be in this position and push forwards, and that is just fine.
That is
Just go with
definitely me.
that.
I can literally hardly put it out. My legs. That's annoying.
Up, round the other way. And one more each side. Up, round and down. Got some nice stretching in today. That's nice. It's good for a Friday. Stretch the week away. Round and down. Good. And as I've done with a few sessions before, some of these arm stretches, palm facing forward, straight out to the side. Turn the fingers back and pulse backwards. Let's do 20 pulses. 5, keeping the shoulders down. 10, another 10, try and keep strong at the same time. 10, good. Other arm straight out, palm facing forward, turn the fingers back. 3, 4, 5, keep the shoulders down. 10, lovely. Roll your shoulders a couple of times. Maybe we'll do our downward dog just to finish off as we always do. Hands on your knees, hands and knees. Toes under, stretching up, pushing down into the heels. Maybe walking one heel down at a time. Good. Walk your hands to your feet. Hanging there, let your head go heavy, your arms go heavy. Breathe in and out. Good. And curl your way back up. Roll the shoulders a couple of times, and there we go.